You may fool the press. You may fool the public, but you don't fool the crown. Not forever. Those were the final words in a rare public statement issued by Princess, and this morning from the Balmoral estate. The setting was crisp, the tone colder than a Highland frost, and the message unmistakably sharp. Princess ends public shutdown. The statement came without warning, and it landed like a verdict. From the Balmoral estate, Princess delivered a rare public message that felt less like commentary and more like a final judgment. Calm, precise, and unflinching, she compared Prince Harry's recent actions to the classic story of the shepherd boy who cried wolf. Someone whose repeated alarms eventually lost all credibility. You may fool the press. You may fool the public. But you don't fool the crown. Not forever. Those words echoed far beyond the estate gates. They weren't framed as emotional disappointment or family frustration. Instead, they carried the weight of institutional authority, a quiet but unmistakable signal that patience had expired, and repeated one phrase that quickly became headline material. We all heard the alarm bells, and when no wolves came, we stopped listening. According to royal observers, this wasn't just a critique of Harry's public behavior. It was widely interpreted as a message that the monarchy no longer viewed him as a misunderstood son or a wounded brother, but as someone whose credibility had been worn thin by repeated controversies, reversals, and emotional appeals. The timing made it even more striking. Her remarks followed Prince Harry's emotional reappearance in Geneva just a day earlier, where he spoke about regret, manipulation, and responsibility. Many expected at least a hint of sympathy from the palace, or silence at minimum. Instead, and stepped forward with a metaphor that felt deliberate, measured, and final. Royal commentators noted that Princess rarely speaks publicly unless the moment carries long-term significance. So when she did, it wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. To some, it looked like the monarchy drawing a line that had been forming quietly for years. Public reaction was immediate. Supporters of Harry described the statement as cold and unforgiving, arguing that it ignored his struggles and emotional honesty. Critics, however, saw it as long overdue, a sign that the royal family was done being pulled into cycles of public drama and reconciliation attempts. Behind the scenes, insiders suggest its tone reflected a broader institutional fatigue. Reports claim that within palace circles, there has been growing concern about unpredictability, about whether reconciliation attempts could reopen media storms, legal complications, or renewed internal strain. Anne's message, according to some royal analysts, was designed to protect the monarchy's stability more than to wound her nephew personally. It framed the issue not as family conflict, but as consequence. Not revenge, not anger, consequence. And that distinction matters, where others in the royal family have leaned towards silence, and has often been seen as the embodiment of duty over sentiment. Her words carried the implication that the door wasn't slammed in rage. It had simply been closed after too many chances. For Harry, the impact was reportedly devastating. Sources close to him suggest he had returned to UK earlier this month holding quiet hope, not for full restoration, but for some pathway toward forgiveness or reconnection. Anne's message, however, appeared to send the opposite signal. That goodwill once spent is not easily restored. To many watching, this moment felt like a turning point, not a scandal, not another tabloid clash, but a formal emotional severing, the kind that doesn't explode but settles. A reminder that the monarchy does not operate on apology cycles or public sentiment. It operates on memory, pattern, and restraint. And if Princess Anne's metaphor was accurate, then in the eyes of the institution, Harry wasn't being judged for a single moment, but for a history of moments. But Anne's words didn't appear out of thin air, because behind this public shutdown lies a deeper story, one involving Harry's attempted return, a rejected olive branch, and a reunion that never happened. And what unfolded next revealed just how far the distance between the brothers had grown. Harry's failed return and William's silent rejection. Harry's return to the UK was supposed to mark a turning point. After years of distance, public tension, and legal battles, he arrived in London earlier this month under the glare of another courtroom showdown, this time tied to his lawsuit against a major British newspaper group. On paper, it looked like a legal continuation. Behind the scenes, however, reports suggest Harry viewed it as something more personal. According to people familiar with the situation, he believed this moment could represent quiet redemption, not just in court, but within his fractured family. Having previously secured a partial legal win in another media case, Harry was reportedly feeling confident, even emboldened. Insiders claim he saw this trial as a chance to reclaim credibility, challenge tabloid narratives, and possibly reopen doors he feared had closed forever. He thought this would change how they see him. One legal source reportedly said, not just the public, his family. In the days leading up to his arrival, Harry is said to have privately reached out to Prince William and Princess Catherine with a request that felt unusually direct. The message, according to reports, proposed a private, face-to-face meeting, away from cameras, aides, and public pressure. A quiet conversation, a chance to reset, a possible first step toward rebuilding trust. But that meeting never happened. Instead, just one day before Harry's scheduled return, William and Catherine boarded a royal jet to Scotland. The palace described the trip as a long-standing commitment tied to youth initiatives. And while that may be true, the timing sparked immediate speculation. Observers noted that had the Wales delayed by even 24 hours, Harry's request could theoretically have been accommodated. They didn't wait. To many watching from the outside, it felt like a silent but deliberate decision, not dramatic, not confrontational, but firm. A message conveyed not through words, but through absence. And that absence reportedly hit Harry harder than any public statement could. Sources claim he arrived in London hoping for at least a symbolic sign, a call, a meeting, or even a subtle gesture that reconciliation was still possible. Instead, what he encountered was distance, scheduling conflicts, and what some describe as emotional finality. For a royal analyst, the move signaled something deeper than sibling tension. It suggested that William, now increasingly central to the monarchy's future, had reached a point where reopening old wounds no longer seemed worth the risk. In his view, according to palace insiders, stability mattered more than sentiment. Meanwhile, Harry attended court proceedings largely alone. Notably absent was Meghan Markle, who remained in the United States. Her team cited parental responsibilities and prior commitments, but observers quickly noted that she made no visible public effort to attend, support, or issue a statement regarding the case. That absence fueled further speculation. Some commentators interpreted it as logistical. Others viewed it as symbolic, a sign of shifting priorities, growing distance, or strategic separation of public narratives. While none of this has been officially confirmed, the optics alone generated headlines. And then came another detail that intensified online chatter. Meghan was photographed days later attending a closed-door wellness and leadership event in California, reportedly surrounded by international investors and media figures. Social media quickly dissected everything, from her outfit to the guest list, turning the moment into another wave of rumor and theory. Within royal watching circles, the contrast felt sharp. Harry returning to Britain seeking reconciliation, Meghan building a separate global presence, William declining contact, and the palace remaining silent. To supporters of Harry, it looked like emotional isolation. To critics, it looked like consequence. Either way, one truth became harder to ignore. The window Harry may have hoped was still open appeared to be closing, not with anger, but with controlled distance. And while the legal battle continued, the personal one was already slipping out of reach. But the strain didn't end with the palace, because behind Harry's courtroom composure, reports suggest another battle was unfolding, one inside his own marriage, where trust, ambition, and identity were beginning to collide, and the cracks forming there would soon become impossible to ignore. Marriage rumors, Meghan's independence, and Harry's growing doubts. While Harry faced rejection from the palace, another storm was reportedly building much closer to home. Behind the polished public image of the Sussex brand, sources and royal commentators claim that tensions inside Harry and Meghan's marriage had been quietly intensifying for years. What once looked like a united front, a couple escaping tradition together, was increasingly being described as two diverging paths. During Harry's UK legal battles, Meghan's absence drew attention. Officially, it was explained as a scheduling issue, parental duties, prior commitments, and professional obligations. But observers noted that there was no visible public show of support, no statement of solidarity, and no effort to align narratives. For some, this fueled speculation that the partnership had become more strategic than emotional. Reports suggest Meghan had been focusing heavily on expanding her independent global presence, attending elite leadership summits, private investment events, and closed-door forums with influential business and media figures. Online, this triggered a wave of rumors. Some claimed luxury gifts had been sent to the Sussex household from international sponsors. Others speculated about high-profile benefactors or brand-linked patrons supporting Meghan's ventures. None of these claims have been verified, but the speculation itself began shaping public perception. One former insider, quoted in tabloid coverage, described the situation bluntly. "These aren't casual connections. These look like positioning moves." Again, this remains alleged, but added to the growing narrative that Meghan was building something separate, ambitious, and increasingly detached from Harry's own identity. At the same time, Harry's role in public appearances began to draw quiet scrutiny. At several high-profile events over the past few years, from award ceremonies to media launches, critics noted that Meghan often dominated the spotlight, while Harry appeared subdued, silent, or sidelined. Some describe him as looking more like a supporting figure than an equal partner. A former production staffer, quoted in industry gossip, reportedly said Harry came across as charming but lost, like he wasn't sure where he fit anymore. Behind closed doors, sources claimed this imbalance started to weigh on him. Harry, once known for his military discipline, advocacy work, and strong sense of mission, reportedly began expressing concerns about feeling overshadowed, not just publicly, but emotionally. Friends said he worried he had traded one form of control for another, swapping royal structure for a life driven by optics, branding, and performance. Parenthood, according to insiders, amplified the strain. As Archie grew older and Lilibet entered early childhood, reports suggest Harry became increasingly focused on stability, routine, and emotional consistency for their children. Some sources allege he asked Meghan to reduce travel and prioritize home life during key developmental years. Allegedly, those requests weren't well received. Rumors claim Meghan viewed his concerns as restrictive or backward, framing them as lingering royal-era thinking rather than modern partnership values. Whether accurate or not, the narrative painted a picture of two people operating under very different definitions of freedom, responsibility, and ambition. And then came another wave of speculation. Former staff members and tabloid sources claimed that luxury items, jewelry, fashion pieces, and high-end gifts had arrived at the Sussex residence without clear brand disclosure or invoice. Meghan reportedly dismissed them as promotional or partnership-related, but Harry, according to alleged insiders, felt uneasy. He started questioning where things were coming from. One unverified source suggested, not because of money, but because of trust. Again, these claims remain unconfirmed, but they fed a broader storyline that Harry was beginning to feel out of control, uncertain, and emotionally displaced in his own marriage. Privately, friends said he struggled with a growing identity crisis. He had once imagined California as freedom, a place where he could rebuild on his own terms. But by the mid-2020s, that dream reportedly felt less like liberation and more like performance. He thought he was escaping the system, one acquaintance reportedly said. Instead, he felt like he'd walked into another one, a life curated for branding, a relationship shaped by public optics, a role that no longer felt like his own. And as these doubts deepened, so did the emotional distance. Because according to multiple reports, the breaking point wasn't fame. It wasn't money. It wasn't even the palace. It was a growing fear that he was losing himself, and that staying meant becoming a background character in a story he once believed he was leading. But the real collapse was still ahead. Because soon, Harry would make a decision that even those closest to him never expected. One involving separation, custody fears, and a choice that would reshape everything. And when that moment came, it didn't explode, it quietly broke him. Divorce rumors, custody fears, and Harry's emotional collapse. By the time the public began sensing tension, reports suggest a real breaking point had already happened in private. Sometime in 2025, multiple outlets and insider sources claimed that Harry quietly filed for divorce, a move that shocked even those who believed the marriage had been under strain. The filing was reportedly brief, low profile, and quickly sealed, suggesting he wanted minimal attention and maximum privacy. But the separation, if the reports are accurate, didn't last long. Sources allege that Harry withdrew the filing soon afterward, not because the issues were resolved, but because of the children. According to people familiar with the situation, a health scare involving one of his children deeply unsettled him, forcing him to reconsider what mattered more: personal freedom or family stability. He panicked at the thought of losing daily access to them. One rumored insider said, "It wasn't about pride anymore. It was about being a father." Behind closed doors, mediation reportedly followed. Accounts claim that Harry and Meghan entered legal guided reconciliation sessions designed to avoid a public custody battle. These meetings allegedly exposed deeper fractures, not just romantic, but philosophical. They reportedly clashed over parenting styles, over travel schedules, over privacy, over how much of their children's lives should exist in the public or brand-driven world, and above all, over trust. People close to the situation claim Harry felt dismissed whenever he raised concerns, whether about external influences, professional alliances, or household boundaries. Some even allege that when he voiced discomfort, Meghan reframed his fears as insecurity, control issues, or lingering royal conditioning. In private conversations leaked through tabloid reporting, Harry allegedly described feeling emotionally manipulated, not with anger, but with language that made him question his own judgment. He said it felt like being told your instincts were the problem. One acquaintance reportedly shared, like your reality kept getting rewritten. As the months passed, Harry's public demeanor reportedly shifted. Once energetic and outspoken, he began appearing quieter, more withdrawn, and less visible. At events where he once would have led conversations, he now stood back. In interviews, he spoke less. Sometimes, not at all. Friends claimed he was struggling with a deeper identity breakdown. He had once been defined by service, structure, and purpose. A military officer, a mental health advocate, a public figure with direction. But outside the monarchy and inside a marriage reportedly driven by media strategy and branding, he began feeling like a secondary character in a narrative he didn't control. "I used to feel like a man with a mission," he allegedly admitted in a leaked private call. "Now I feel like a supporting role in someone else's show." That sense of emotional erosion reportedly intensified toward the end of 2025. Observers noted that Meghan continued expanding her independent global profile, launching projects, attending elite events, and reinforcing a brand centered on empowerment and reinvention. Meanwhile, Harry grew increasingly absent from key initiatives tied to their shared ventures. Insiders claimed the couple's foundation and media deals face internal strain, with some partnerships stalling and others being quietly restructured. Whether or not those reports are accurate, the public perception began shifting. Meghan rising, Harry fading, and privately, that imbalance reportedly hurt. At home, sources allege that arguments became more frequent, not explosive but exhausting. They fought over schedules, over values, over boundaries, over what kind of life their children should grow up in. But the deepest conflict, according to those claims, centered on loyalty. Harry reportedly felt that his attempts to slow things down, protect privacy, and create stability were treated as weakness, even framed as regression into the very royal mindset he had once escaped. He felt mocked for wanting peace, one friend said, as if calm was a betrayal of ambition. By late 2025, those close to him claimed Harry had emotionally hit a wall. He wasn't just dealing with family rejection from the palace. He wasn't just navigating a complicated marriage. He was reportedly facing a quiet collapse of identity, unsure of who he was without the crown, without control, and without a clear role. Not angry, not explosive, just worn down. And then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. Not a courtroom ruling, not a royal statement, not a public scandal, but a revelation, one involving media, secrecy, and alleged betrayal, that would soon drive Harry to make the most dramatic move of his life. And when he finally spoke about it, the world didn't just listen, it froze. Geneva, alleged betrayal, and the moment Harry finally spoke. When Harry stepped onto the stage in Geneva, few expected anything more than another reflective speech. Instead, they witnessed what felt like a quiet emotional detonation. Dressed simply, without entourage or visible handlers, Harry appeared at a media ethics forum hosted by a private international NGO. No dramatic build-up, no grand announcement, just a man holding a single page of handwritten notes and visibly steadying himself before speaking. "I was wrong about many things," he said. "I was manipulated about others. But I still take responsibility." Within minutes, clips of the speech flooded social media. At first, viewers assumed it was another apology, aimed at his family, the public, or the institution he once left behind. But the moment shifted when Harry began describing what he claimed was a personal betrayal, one tied not to monarchy but to his private life. According to Harry, an anonymous whistleblower had contacted him earlier that month, sending documents that allegedly revealed a covert media agreement involving Meghan. The files, he claimed, suggested she had entered a private commercial deal with a U.S.-based media firm, one that reportedly included narrative rights tied to royal experiences and personal family insights. Harry stressed that he had not been informed. And if true, that omission, not the business itself, was what hurt the most. "What shook me wasn't ambition," he said. "It was the secrecy." He referenced alleged audio recordings attached to the whistleblower's message, clips that supposedly captured private conversations about senior royals and life inside the monarchy. Their authenticity has not been verified, and no official confirmation has been issued. But even the suggestion that private family discussions may have been recorded sparked immediate controversy. Harry did not release the recordings. He did not name names directly. He did not make legal accusations. Instead, he framed it as a personal reckoning, a moment where he realized that the privacy he believed he was protecting might never have truly existed. "It felt like my home had become a studio," he said quietly. The reaction was instant. Supporters praised his honesty, describing the speech as vulnerable, restrained, and overdue. Critics accused him of fueling drama, reopening old wounds, and weaponizing speculation. Others simply watched in silence, unsure what to believe, but sensing that something had fractured beyond repair. The palace, notably, said nothing. No rebuttal, no confirmation, no denial. But behind closed doors, insiders suggested that William's patience had finally run out. One palace source reportedly described the Geneva moment as a burn notice, not because of the allegations themselves, but because Harry had once again brought private family matters into public view. From William's perspective, according to those reports, the situation had crossed a line from emotional fallout into permanent estrangement. No more bridges. One aide allegedly said, no more reopening doors. Meanwhile, Meghan moved forward with visible momentum. Just days after Harry's Geneva appearance, she launched a new independent platform focused on storytelling, empowerment, and global influence. The branding made no mention of royal ties, no reference to marriage, no shared identity. To some observers, the contrast was stark. Harry speaking about regret, trust, and emotional fallout. Meghan unveiling reinvention, control, and narrative ownership. Two trajectories moving in opposite directions. Privately, those close to Harry claimed the Geneva speech wasn't about revenge. It was about closure. They say he had reached a point where silence felt heavier than truth, where staying quiet felt like complicity in a story he no longer recognized, where protecting peace meant finally admitting pain. Now, living quietly in Hampshire, Harry is said to be keeping a low profile, walking alone, focusing on fatherhood, and distancing himself from a media ecosystem that once defined him. He is no longer positioning himself as a rebel prince, no longer chasing redemption from palace, no longer trying to control the narrative. Instead, friends say he's wrestling with a simpler, heavier question. How do you rebuild a life after losing your role, your identity, your marriage's certainty, and your sense of belonging? Because the Geneva moment didn't restore his image. It didn't reopen palace doors. It didn't fix his family. But it did mark something else. The point where Harry stopped running from a fallout and started facing what was left. And as the crown quietly moved on without him, one final truth began to settle in. He wasn't fighting to return anymore. He was fighting to figure out who he is, without titles, without illusion, and without the story he once believed would save him. In the end, Prince Harry didn't lose everything in one dramatic collapse. He lost it slowly, trust by trust, door by door, moment by moment. Once, he was a prince at the center of history. Then, a rebel chasing freedom. Then, a husband building a new empire. And now, he stands somewhere quieter, stripped of titles, distant from family, uncertain of love, and holding on to the one role that still feels real. Being a father. The palace has moved on. The monarchy has hardened its stance. Meghan has built a new narrative without looking back. And Harry remains, not as the heir, not as a headline, not as a hero or the villain, but as a man living with the consequences of choices made under pressure, emotion, and hope. Maybe his story isn't about betrayal. Maybe it isn't about fame. Maybe it isn't even about royalty. Maybe it's about what happens when someone runs from duty, mistakes escape for freedom, and only realizes too late that losing structure can sometimes mean losing yourself. He once chased independence. Now he chases peace. And whether history remembers him as misunderstood, reckless, manipulated, or simply wounded, one truth feels harder to ignore. Some crowns can be set down, but some consequences follow forever. And sometimes the loudest punishment is the silence that comes after the story ends. If you want more deep dives into hidden power moves, untold royal conflicts, and the real stories behind global headlines, make sure to stay connected here. Tell me what you think about Harry's journey. Was he a victim, a rebel, or someone who made irreversible mistakes? And if you want the next chapter in this saga, including what insiders claim could happen next, you won't want to miss what's coming.